The glittering facade of Hollywood has always been a powerful magnet for human imagination, a sprawling dream factory where ordinary individuals are transformed into modern-day deities under the intense glare of the spotlight. For decades, the global audience has looked at the silver screen with a sense of profound wonder, captivated by the larger-than-life personas who navigate worlds of immense wealth, unparalleled privilege, and cultural dominance. We see the flawless red carpet appearances, the meticulously curated public relations campaigns, and the seemingly effortless charm displayed during high-profile promotional tours, all of which paint a picture of an idyllic paradise populated by exceptionally gifted and humble creators. However, beneath this polished veneer of cinematic perfection lies a much more complex, chaotic, and sometimes deeply troubling reality that rarely makes it into the glossy pages of entertainment magazines or the tightly controlled narratives of evening news broadcasts. The entertainment industry is built on a foundation of intense pressure where vast sums of financial capital are risked on a daily basis, and where the fragile egos of highly celebrated individuals frequently clash behind closed doors. For the average viewer, the internal mechanics of a major film production remain shrouded in absolute mystery, perceived only through the carefully filtered lens of studio marketing departments. Yet, those who actually live and work within this exclusive ecosystem often witness a starkly different environment, one where the traditional boundaries of professional decorum, mutual respect, and basic human accountability can become incredibly blurred or disappear entirely under the weight of runaway stardom. This hidden world, with all its unspoken rules and unvarnished truths, forms the backdrop for an ongoing, fascinating dialogue about what happens when fame goes completely unchecked for far too long. Before we fully unpack the astonishing revelations that have recently sent shockwaves through the industry, take a brief moment to subscribe to our channel and activate notifications so you never miss our deep dives into the untold stories of cinema to truly understand the nature of this complex industry. One must recognize that Hollywood operates unlike any other business on the planet, exists as a unique realm where artistic expression and massive commercial enterprises collide in unpredictable ways. In a standard corporate environment, there are rigid protocols, human resources departments, and established hierarchies designed to maintain order, enforce discipline, and ensure that every employee is held strictly accountable for their performance and behavioral conduct. In sharp contrast, the entertainment world frequently rewards eccentricities and indulging behaviors, often equating difficult personalities with creative genius or immense commercial bankability. When an individual achieves a certain level of global fame and begins generating hundreds of millions of dollars for major studios, the ordinary rules of societal conduct often seem to bend, warp, or vanish for them altogether. This environment can inadvertently create a profound sense of absolute entitlement, a psychological bubble where a person begins to genuinely believe that the entire world owes them something simply because of their status on the A-list. Over several years or even decades of continuous adulation, this lack of standard boundaries can lead to behavioral patterns that would be considered entirely unacceptable, if not immediately grounds for termination, in any conventional workplace. The public rarely gets a genuine, unvarnished glimpse into these high-stakes dynamics as the industry is notoriously protective of its own secrets, preferring to maintain the illusion of harmonious collaboration at all costs to protect box office returns. It is precisely because of this pervasive culture of secrecy that when a prominent industry insider decides to speak out candidly about their first-hand experiences, the world stops and pays very close attention. The latest wave of intrigue centers around a revealing discussion that took place on one of the world's most widely listened to digital platforms, a space known for hosting incredibly long, unscripted, and deeply personal conversations. During this particular broadcast, an established actor who has spent his entire life operating on the periphery and within the very core of show business decided to pull back the curtain on the shocking behavior he has personally witnessed on modern film sets. This individual possesses a remarkably unique perspective on the entire phenomenon of celebrity, having been raised far away from the toxic, superficial center of Los Angeles, yet always remaining intimately connected to the highest echelons of cinematic history. His observations do not stem from a place of bitter jealousy or brief exposure, but rather from a lifetime of quiet observation, watching how different generations of performers handle the immense, intoxicating burden of global recognition. His recent comments have ignited a massive conversation about the total absence of professional accountability that seems to plague certain corners of the modern film industry. Raising critical questions about how long-term fame can stunt personal growth and disturb a person's fundamental sense of right and wrong, the actor in question specifically highlighted a recent, deeply frustrating encounter during the pre-production phase of a major motion picture project, an incident that perfectly illustrates how unchecked stardom can completely derail a massive collaborative effort without any regard for the consequences. According to his account, a highly celebrated A-list performer abruptly decided that they simply no longer wished to collaborate with another specific individual attached to the project. Despite the fact that significant financial investments had already been made and the entire production machinery was already in motion, when reminded of the substantial capital that had been spent and urged to do the right thing by reimbursing the investors who had put their faith and money into the project, the high-profile individual flatly refused, displaying a level of casual indifference that left colleagues completely stunned. This sudden, disruptive departure not only jeopardized the livelihoods of numerous crew members but also underscored a much larger, systemic issue within the business. A realization that some individuals have been famous for so long that they believe they are entirely immune to the standard obligations of professional contracts and basic ethical behavior. As we begin to explore the deeper implications of these statements and look closer at the legendary Hollywood lineage of the man who made them, the tension surrounding this untold story only continues to grow, setting the stage for a dramatic revelation of the names, the history, and the profound generational divide that defines this conflict. The voice behind these blunt and uncompromising observations belongs to none other than Scott Eastwood, an established 40-year-old actor who has spent the last 2 decades carving out his own distinct path in the highly competitive world of action, crime, and romance cinema. While many viewers recognize him from his recent roles in high-stakes films like Alarum or the romantic drama Regretting You, his unique insights carry an extraordinary weight because of his deep roots in Hollywood history. Scott is the son of Clint Eastwood, the legendary 96-year-old cinematic icon whose monumental career as an actor, director, and producer has come to define the very essence of American filmmaking for over half a century. Growing up as the son of such a towering figure gave Scott a rare front-row seat to the internal mechanics of the movie business long before he ever stepped in front of a camera himself. This dual perspective as both an independent working actor and the child of a Hollywood titan allows him to evaluate the industry with a level of objectivity and maturity that is exceptionally rare among his peers. When Scott Eastwood decided to speak out during his recent appearance on the Joe Rogan Experience, he was not merely complaining about a minor workplace disagreement, but rather launching a profound critique against a systemic culture of entitlement that he believes is actively eroding the professional integrity of modern filmmaking during his lengthy conversation with Joe Rogan. Scott described the astonishing lack of accountability he witnessed during a recent film project where a famous co-star decided to walk away during pre-production simply because they changed their mind about working with another person on the team. Scott emphasized that this reckless decision occurred after a tremendous amount of money had already been spent by investors to get the production off the ground. In any conventional business enterprise, walking away from a legally binding contract after causing massive financial losses would result in immediate legal retribution and severe reputational damage. Yet, when Scott personally confronted this unnamed A-list actor and explicitly told them that the right thing to do would be to pay back the money to the people who had invested in their talent, the individual casually refused, confident that their massive celebrity status would shield them from any real consequences. This shocking behavior, which Scott explicitly stated would never fly in any other industry on Earth, highlights a troubling reality where a small group of hyper-famous individuals believe they are completely untouchable. Operating far above the rules that govern ordinary working people, the discussion between Scott Eastwood and Joe Rogan quickly evolved into a broader, fascinating analysis of how early and prolonged fame can permanently stunt a person's psychological and emotional growth. Rogan noted that child stars and individuals who achieve immense, overwhelming celebrity at a very young age often become completely frozen in their development, trapped in a permanent state of adolescence because they are surrounded by an army of handlers, agents, and sycophants who never tell them the word no. When a person is constantly shielded from the real-world consequences of their actions, their perception of reality becomes dangerously distorted. They begin to view the people around them not as professional colleagues or fellow human beings, but as mere instruments meant to serve their whims and desires. Scott thoroughly agreed with this assessment, pointing out that some of the individuals he has worked with have been famous for far too long, causing them to lose all touch with how the actual world functions. This continuous validation creates a toxic environment on film sets, where directors, producers, and crew members are forced to walk on eggshells, constantly managing the fragile tempers and unpredictable moods of a single star. While trying to keep a multi-million-dollar project from falling apart, to explain why he has managed to maintain his own grounded perspective amidst this pervasive Hollywood madness, Scott credited his iconic father, Clint Eastwood, for instilling an unshakable old-school work ethic in him from a very young age. Clint Eastwood, who grew up during the hardships of the Great Depression and broke into the film industry during the golden age of Westerns, viewed acting not as a mystical, privileged calling that exempted someone from basic manners, but quite simply as a job. The patriarchal advice that Clint consistently passed down to his children was remarkably simple and direct. Put your boots on, go to work, put in the necessary reps, make sure you know your material inside and out, come completely prepared. And above all, leave the drama at the door. There was absolutely no room for diva behavior, inflated egos, or self-indulgent artistic tantrums in the Eastwood household, or on any of Clint's legendary, highly efficient film sets. Scott recalled that he was actually incredibly fortunate as a child because when he would visit his father on various movie sets, he got to see examples of terrible behavior from other actors firsthand. Rather than being enticed by the glamorous allure of celebrity misbehavior, Scott recognized it even then as complete nonsense. Using those negative examples as a definitive guide on how he should never behave as a professional. This disciplined upbringing was further reinforced by Clint Eastwood's deliberate choice to raise his family far away from the toxic, hyper-focused bubble of Los Angeles. Instead of growing up in the superficial environment of Beverly Hills or Hollywood, where celebrity children are constantly hounded by paparazzi and indulged with unearned luxury, Scott and his siblings were raised in the quiet, coastal community of Carmel, California. In this peaceful environment, Clint did an exceptional job of protecting his children from the blinding spotlight, ensuring they lived as normal a life as possible under the circumstances. The Eastwood children were taught to understand how the real world operates, learning that respect, hard work, and accountability are earned through consistent actions, not inherited through a famous last name. Clint's large family, which includes Scott's siblings, Lori, Kimber, Lynn, Kyle, Allison, Catherine, Francesca, and Morgan, all grew up with this shared understanding of privacy and normalcy, creating a tight-knit generational bond that stood in stark contrast to the chaotic personal lives of many other Hollywood dynasties. By keeping his children grounded in reality, Clint successfully shielded them from the psychological traps of early fame that Scott now sees destroying the behavior of his contemporary co-stars. The tension in Scott's revelations reaches a crescendo when comparing his family's pragmatic philosophy with the highly controversial trend of method acting that has taken hold of many modern performers. Scott made it abundantly clear that neither he nor his father have ever subscribed to what he described as the crazy, psychological approach where an actor remains stubbornly in character both on and off the camera, demanding that everyone on set cater to their fictional persona. For the Eastwoods, a film set is a professional workplace populated by hard-working crew members who have families to support. And treating those people with disrespect or disrupting production for the sake of one's artistic ego is entirely unacceptable. As Scott continues to navigate his own flourishing career, balancing intense action projects with heartfelt romantic roles, his adherence to these traditional values serves as a direct challenge to the modern Hollywood establishment. The underlying conflict between the old-school discipline of the Eastwood legacy and the unchecked entitlement of today's hyper-famous elite sets the stage for a critical examination of why this cultural divide matters so deeply for the future of the entertainment industry as a whole. The profound divide between the traditional discipline championed by the Eastwood family and the unchecked entitlement of certain modern A-list celebrities is not merely a clash of personal work ethics, but a fundamental conflict over the very soul and future of the entertainment industry. When Scott Eastwood openly critiques the jaw-dropping lack of accountability among his contemporary peers, he is highlighting a systemic crisis that threatens the financial viability and artistic integrity of major filmmaking. In an era where production budgets routinely skyrocket into hundreds of millions of dollars, the erratic behavior of a single hyper-famous individual can cause catastrophic economic ripples. When a star abruptly abandons a project during pre-production over a personal whim or refuses to reimburse investors for losses they directly caused, it is the ordinary, hard-working crew members who suffer the most. Camera operators, lighting technicians, set designers, makeup artists, and catering staff all depend on the stability of these productions to provide for their families. When a film is delayed, disrupted, or canceled entirely due to a celebrity tantrum, these behind-the-scenes professionals face sudden unemployment and financial instability. This is precisely why Scott's candid words on the global stage matter so deeply, as they serve as a rare and necessary defense of the unsung heroes of cinema against the reckless selfishness of a privileged elite. By pulling back the curtain on this shocking behavior, Scott Eastwood has initiated a crucial conversation about the long-term psychological impacts of sustained, unearned adulation within the entertainment ecosystem. The phenomenon of individuals becoming too famous for too long creates a dangerous societal vacuum, a cultural echo chamber where the traditional boundaries of human empathy and professional responsibility completely erode. When studios and management teams consistently prioritize short-term box office draws over baseline human decency, they actively enable a toxic environment where bad behavior is not only tolerated but systematically covered up. This lack of accountability has created a distinct generational rift in Hollywood, contrasting the durable professionalism of the past with the fragile, self-centered dynamics of the present. Legendary figures like Clint Eastwood built their monumental legacies on a foundation of mutual respect, punctuality, and unwavering dedication to the collective craft of storytelling. They understood that cinema is an inherently collaborative art form, one that requires the harmonious cooperation of hundreds of individuals working toward a shared creative vision. Rather than a vanity project designed to feed a single oversized ego, understanding the unique journey of the Eastwood family provides vital context for why Scott remains so remarkably grounded and fiercely committed to these traditional values despite operating in a highly volatile modern industry. Clint Eastwood's path to becoming one of the most respected and influential figures in cinematic history was defined by relentless hard work, grit, and an absolute refusal to let fame distort his character. Born during the height of the Great Depression, Clint worked numerous grueling odd jobs, from lifeguarding to firefighting, long before he ever secured his breakout roles in classic television westerns and iconic feature films. When he transitioned into directing and producing, he brought that same blue-collar, no-nonsense mentality to his sets, earning a legendary reputation for wrapping productions ahead of schedule and under budget. He achieved this unparalleled efficiency by treating every single crew member as an equal, fostering an atmosphere of mutual respect where everyone was expected to show up prepared, do their jobs diligently, and leave their personal egos at the door. It was within this environment of quiet discipline and intense professional dedication that Scott and his siblings were raised, witnessing firsthand that true cinematic greatness is achieved through consistent effort rather than dramatic public displays of entitlement. This profound legacy of humility and hard work has clearly guided Scott Eastwood throughout his own 20-year journey in the film industry, enabling him to successfully navigate the treacherous waters of Hollywood stardom without losing his core identity. Rather than relying solely on his famous last name to secure high-profile roles, Scott chose to earn his place in the business by putting in the necessary repetitions, starting with small, uncredited appearances and gradually working his way up to leading roles in major studio projects. His diverse filmography, spanning intense action thrillers like Alarum to heartfelt romantic dramas like Regretting You, demonstrates a versatile and dedicated performer who approaches each distinct character with the exact same pragmatic mindset his father instilled in him. By viewing acting strictly as a professional job rather than a license for self-indulgent behavior, Scott has earned the widespread respect of directors, producers, and crew members who appreciate his reliability, preparedness, and collaborative spirit. His refusal to adopt the extreme, disruptive methods of modern character acting further solidifies his status as a proud custodian of the old-school Hollywood tradition, proving that it is entirely possible to deliver powerful, memorable performances while remaining a decent, grounded, and accountable human being off-camera. The shared experiences of the extended Eastwood family further illustrate the profound success of Clint's deliberate efforts to shield his children from the destructive. Superficial allure of the celebrity spotlight. Growing up in the peaceful, community-oriented environment of Carmel, California allowed Scott and his siblings, Lori, Kimber Lynn, Kyle, Allison, Catherine, Francesca, and Morgan, to develop strong, independent identities rooted in reality rather than the manufactured illusions of show business. Each member of the family has pursued their own unique passions and professional paths, whether within the creative arts or entirely outside the entertainment industry, while maintaining a shared commitment to privacy, humility, and mutual support. This tight-knit family dynamic stands as a powerful living testament to the fact that the psychological traps of early and prolonged fame can be successfully avoided when parents prioritize normal upbringing, real-world accountability, and strong moral foundations over the fleeting glitz of red carpets and public adulation. By keeping his children grounded in the quiet beauty of everyday life, Clint Eastwood gave them the ultimate gift: the ability to see through the artificial nonsense of stardom and appreciate the true value of honest labor and authentic human connection. Ultimately, Scott Eastwood's bold and uncompromising stand against the shocking lack of accountability in modern Hollywood is a much-needed wake-up call for an industry that has drifted dangerously far from its professional roots. His revealing conversation on the global stage serves as a powerful reminder that no level of fame, wealth, or cultural influence should ever exempt an individual from the basic rules of professional courtesy, ethical conduct, and personal responsibility. As the entertainment world continues to evolve in the face of shifting economic realities and changing audience expectations, the timeless principles championed by the Eastwood legacy remain more relevant and necessary than ever before. By demanding higher standards of behavior from his fellow stars and honoring the disciplined work ethic of the generation that came before him, Scott is helping to pave the way for a more sustainable, respectful, and truly collaborative future in cinema. The captivating story of his upbringing, his father's enduring influence, and his own ongoing cinematic journey reminds us all that true stardom is not defined by an attitude of entitlement, but by the integrity, humility, and dedication one brings to their craft every single day.